This boy and girl are going to be well equipped when the time comes to take their places as worthy members of adult society.
Aloha, y'all. This is Daniel Eisenman, the host of the Breaking Normal podcast, where my guests are all invited based on the frequency of synchronicity, all done in person, and all trailblazers in the breaking of all things normal. Well, I pray for the best.
Indeed.
Yeah, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
And I guess we're on now. So I'm welcoming Donny Dust to the Breaking Normal podcast. Oh, man. First of all, just look at you.
That's what my mom said once. Like, oh, my God.
And I have heard about you because my company tried vitamins. I brought you a bottle of bison heart.
Oh, heck yeah.
It's like a half bottle. It's,
I appreciate it.
You'll see what you think about it. It's pure, 100% grass-fed, grass-finished bison heart, freeze-dried raw.
Nice.
Milled into a powder and then put into a gelatin capsule.
Cool.
And I think we're the only company in the world that has that, like, just pure bison heart.
Nice.
Our main product is bison liver plus heart.
Nice.
And every once in a while we do bison testicles.
Yes.
But one of my suppliers had mentioned that there's this guy that, he lives here.
Yeah.
And he... Because they had heard we had done a bison harvest with the local Lakota tribe in one of the ranches here in Colorado.
Yeah.
And it was pretty ceremonial and very impactful. He's like, no, this guy is, he lives in Lafayette, and he does harvesting of our bison with a group with only stone tools.
Yeah. It's just a kind of a obscure sort of thing, but it's, I think, probably the most traditional way of butchering out an animal is with raw stone flakes and tools, which I brought some for you, because everyone that's ever experienced like taking game, processing game, or even cutting up a steak at home needs to have some stone tools. So I brought some stuff.
Okay.
I'll pull them out right now.
All right, awesome. And you know what I do? I not only did I give you the heart that anyone can buy right now, but I actually brought you from our supplier that you work with.
Yeah.
A bison heart.
Oh.
Or at least part of one.
I love some heart.
It's frozen, so.
No, that's no problem.
What I'll do is I also brought some Icelandic black lava salt.
Okay.
If you want to sprinkle some on
All
top
right.
of it.
Heck yeah.
So here's the heart, and I have a little bowl for that while you pull out your tools.
Nice. So this is a brand new one. This is one that you can use for cutting up a steak, anything to that extent. And
Can you show that to the camera?
Yeah, this is a piece of Georgetown chert. It's seated in a little Osage orange handle, which is traditionally kind of like a good bow wood, wrapped with sinew and then glued in place with some pine pitch glue, which is pine, moose poo, and a little bit of wood char.
Wow.
That will cut up a steak.
Wow.
This is one for you that's been used in a bison butchering, along with these ones. And I like to bring them a little bloodied, so there's different kind of aspects to these. There's some raw flakes, which is the purest form of a knife. And this right here is a raw flake that hasn't been used. So all of these, minus this one, have been blooded in the butchering of a bison. So it's to kind of tease you, and there's going to be little bits and pieces floating around, but it gives you an idea that this raw flake, even when it's in this used kind of form, is the most traditional way to take apart an animal. And then you go one step above with hafting them, and then hafting them again into some sort of handle. Like this is just a piece of whitetail, but.
Wow. All right. So real quickly, when you say sinew, for someone that doesn't know what that means.
Yeah. So sinew is typically, it's a tendon, right? So you have sinew all around your body. You have leg tendons. You have silver skin, which goes along that nice little back strap on a mule deer, an elk, bison. And with that sinew, once you dry it out, you separate it, you take it apart. It acts like a kind of a glue cordage. You put it in your mouth, you activate it with your mucus, and it comes out wet. And then when you wrap it around an arrow or a blade or anything to that extent, when it dries, it shrinks and it holds it tight in place. So when you harvest an animal, you aim for the sinew, you aim for the meats, something even like intestines. You can use intestines like cat cordage, if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah.
Original violins were made out of the intestines of pigs, goat, sheep, but you can fully clean out the intestines of an elk or even a bison, dry it, twist it, and turn it into a bowstring, so everything can be used.
Okay, wow. That was a nice little intro for a little bit about what you're up to.
Nice.
Here's the heart. It's obviously quite frozen. But we'll let that sit, and
Yeah.
then maybe we can even use that clean tool if you want to.
Yeah.
To
Eat some up.
cut some slithers. Is that going to be in the shot at all, or is that okay for now? All right,
Yeah.
great. All right, so how in the world did you get to the place of where this seems to be a passion of yours?
Yeah, I think it was probably close to, 18, 19 years ago where I was living in Joshua Tree, California, just doing some rock climbing, part of the search and rescue, just kind of enjoying the desert. And I found myself going on lots of adventures into the bush. Joshua Tree is not the most bushy area, but and as I was going on these adventures, I found myself being weighed down by stuff, backpacks and tents and sleeping bags and water filtration, all this stuff. And it didn't really, kind of promote this thought in my brain and saying like, well, why are we carrying all this? Like the adventure's out there in front of you. You can be curiosity led. So I took a step back. I took all of my stuff down in Palm Springs, donated it to various homeless shelters, and said, how did we, as a people, right, as one culture, how did we kind of traverse this landscape? How did we kind of survive and then thrive in this world? And after doing some research on my own and then taking probably the only college class I ever passed at a local community college, it was all about stone tools. So I didn't know how to make them at that point, but my professor, she put me in contact with a guy that made me probably 7 or 8 various obsidian tools.
I'll give you that bag. That'll help you. We have a little wiener dog here
No
that's
worries.
very into the remnants of that heart. All right, so all right, go ahead.
Yeah, so I used those obsidian tools until there was pretty much nothing left. And these are simple, flakes for cutting and scrapers and various knives. There was nothing left of them. So I said, kind of once I've earned the right and I understood how to use them, it was going to shape me making them. And from there, as somebody who is very much into living remotely in the backcountry, I quickly learned like we don't need all this stuff. Nature provides everything we need. We just need to, one, kind of establish the pattern of life within nature, and then don't overconsume, but take just what you need for your given adventure, your given experience. And when you do it with stone, it slows you down. It makes you appreciate everything that much more. And you're not in a rush. You're not in a rush to, walk over a mountain. You're not in a rush to, set up a camp. You just kind of live in the moment. And stone brings you to that moment. And it's also out there. And you can make everything and anything you need from a piece of stone.
Wow. So so since that college class, because I understand you've been in the Marine Corps, you're an author, you're a dad.
Yeah.
Have you just been building stone tools since then?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, well, from a young kid's, standpoint, like when I was 12 or 13, I grew up in that generation, probably similar to you, where there was no YouTube. Computers weren't really a thing. You took a typing class in school. You spent time outside or hanging with your friends, that sort of stuff. And that's what I did. And then there was always a love and kind of curiosity about that kind of natural world. Like, how do we live? How do we thrive? And, at that point in my life, I was young. So I was just outside fishing and hunting and camping and doing all these things. And I never really wanted to do anything but that. However, Marine Corps came a calling. I answered. It was an easy sell for me because all fishing, hunting, camping, you like those things? So I was like, yeah, they're like, join us. So I joined the Corps. September 11th kicked off. Towers came down. I found myself, in war for many years. Wow. But leaving the military, it was about kind of reconnecting with the passions that I had in life. I had 2 boys at the time. So it was just kind of being a father, being more present, being in their space. Kind of teaching them, coaching them, mentoring them in their own life pursuits, and being an example of this is my passion. You guys can have your own and follow your own. So there's one rule in my house. You can't be me. You have to be you. And with that rule, it's taken off any stress or anxiety they could kind of build up by having a father or a mother or uncle or grandfather. It's like, you got to do this. You got to do this. So for me, it was give them an opportunity to have a dad being present, leave the military, and allow me to kind of pursue my passions.
When did that happen? When you got left the military?
Yeah,
and
2011.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you came back home then?
Yeah, I went to Maryland for a short period of time and worked a couple government contracts. So my background in the military was I was in the infantry, and then I was a counterintelligence, human intelligence agent. So, running various clandestine assets in different countries, a lot of interrogations, So I came back and taught some of that stuff, but it really just put me back into that same place that I left. So for me, eventually I was wanting to get my family out to Colorado because I grew up in Highlands Ranch when it was 40, 50 homes, brand new community, no high school. And my sister went to CU Boulder. I mean, Boulder's definitely changed from, the 80s until now. But I just knew this was a great place. The outdoors, the skiing, the hunting, the fishing, the whole kind of lifestyle. So we moved to southern Colorado, the Monument, El Paso County area. And then just kicked off on what I wanted to do. And it's kind of a unique thing. You're like, how do you sell? How do you market? How do you do stone tools and like living in the bush? But I would take a big bison hide, throw it out at a trailhead, spin a hand drill, friction fire, do some flint napping. Then people would come over and say, "Oh, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Wow, now that I got you, let me give you my 2-minute elevator pitch and give them a business card," because that was all I could really afford. And then bring them out in the bush. I mean, I think with my counter intel background, I never had a problem kind of cold approaching and pitching somebody on an idea, a concept, or kind of a way. And it gave me, plenty of business. And then from there, it just kind of, I like to say, spiraled out of control to a certain point. Now,
well, yeah, because I mentioned all this stuff. You were on the TV show Alone, which is probably my favorite show.
Oh, right on.
And I was listening to a podcast before this, or a couple of them, where y'all were talking about you training as a terrorist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, gosh, this guy's background is dynamic.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So I'm not sure. I'm just going to let, what wants to come through here lead this conversation. How old were your sons when you made your first sale for your...
They were probably like less than a year and then like 2. So they were young.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you started, wow, what a shift.
Yeah.
What a transition.
Yeah. One of them, he's turning 19. The other one's 16. So they're good.
So you grew your passion project business that you've dreamt of while they growing up from age 1.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's kind of tricky because, there's no guaranteed paycheck. All of my successes and failures are indicative of my own actions. So if I wanted to sit on the couch and do nothing, well, I can only look at myself if I'm not being able to produce to be able to sustain like a certain lifestyle. However, though, that's not my mentality. That's not the military mentality. It's not the mentality my folks kind of raised me in. It was, if you want it, you got to go and do it. And, no one's going to help you. There'll be some assistance along the way, but it's driven, by you. So even like today with the business that I run, it'd be very hard for me to extend that out to somebody because does their same motivation and passions align with mine to just do this nonstop? And I mean, I put myself in all sorts of unique situations to gain experience. I always call it ground truth. Like people have certain ground truths in life. They have certain things that kind of dictate and kind of help, push them left or right to kind of give them an idea of what they want to do in life. And for me, it's about experiencing as much ground truth as possible. So whether that's going to live in Africa with the Maasai or, heading to the Arctic or going to live in a desert for 10 days just to see how my body reacts, at least then when I write about it in a book, it's coming from a point of truth and not something I read online or something I believe to be true or based off 4 or 5 other people's inputs. It's something I directly experienced. And even all the books that I have written, which I've got copies for you.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. Yeah. Are any of them on Audible?
Yeah, there's a couple.
Okay. I love a good audiobook. Do you read them?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
I mean,
Those
wow,
are
they're beautiful.
Oh, thanks. So
These are beautiful books.
the first one was Scavenger, which is the red one. And that's about how you can just overall change your lifestyle if it's a little bit more primal, so to speak. And when I was 37, I had a massive heart attack. I had a widowmaker heart attack, not because of drugs or alcohol or an unhealthy lifestyle. It was just something in my blood. It's sticky and it's thick, and I had a widowmaker, so it was a 99% blockage. I was training for like a super jungle ultra marathon down in Peru, and like 245K over a given number of days. And I came back from Alaska teaching and just crept up and had one. So this was the book that I wrote about my recovery when I was living in a cave and only eating wild and doing lots of kind of all natural ways of healing, because they threw me on some medications, and I didn't really like that kind of the way it made me feel was kind of impacting my memory. So I said, I just need to go and do this. So I did it. And then I wrote this book to be right at like 100 pages because not a lot of people read these days. So let me make a book that people will sit down, they'll consume in one sitting. I kind of do a lot of bluff, bottom line up front, like here's what you need to know. Here's my inputs, my experiences. Take it for what it's worth. Do what you want with it. And then one of the chapters in that book is called Earth Roaming, which is kind of
Earth Roamer?
Yeah. And that's really the premise of my second book because a lot of people had a lot more questions about it. So I kind of dive more into there. And then my third book is just called Wild Wisdom, kind of how to survive in the bush, a little bit of my origin story and kind of what goes on. So
wow. Holy moly. Yeah. How old were your kids when you had that heart attack?
So this was 2017. So they were, 10, 11, 9, 10, 11.
And you felt perfectly healthy. Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. I had nothing in my arm, no jaw pains, no back pains. I just woke up in the middle of the night and felt like hot coals around my chest. And I was like, something's off. And I went to the hospital. They tested my troponins, which is indicative of you've had a heart issue. And I'm like, look, I'm going to be honest. I've delivered babies. I've patched up bullet holes. I'm too young to have a heart attack. And the doctor's like, look, I've been doing this for 40 years. You had one. I was like, all right, I'm going to let you win this one. And went through like my mandatory 10, 11 days of cardio recovery. And then after that, I was like, I'm out of here. Sorry.
So no procedures or surgeries?
They put a stent into my heart because my left,
your arm?
Through my arm. But, yeah, I mean, it was kind of like the best and the worst things ever happened because everyone's like, oh, my God, your life is, it's going to change. You got to do this. I'm like, that's not going to happen. But it just caused me to be a little bit more aware of life. You know what I mean? So the inevitable thing is we will all die one day. So we all know there's to be a truth. So if you know that, like, how do you go about living your days forward? It's very likely for me, and it's not a grim way of looking, I'll probably have another heart attack one day that will wind up, kicking the bucket for me. So I've got a leg up on everybody else. Knowing that, I can choose to, eat poorly, not exercise, and do things that cause a certain level of stress, or I can manage and dictate my own life and how I want to go forward. So I've kind of got that advantage in a certain way. And that is really the premise of like my first book, which is like, let's share it with some folks.
Well, thank you for bringing these, sharing your story, living such an amazing story. In my book that I'm going to assign for you, Breaking Normal, when I hosted health retreats for about 10 years. Cool. And a lot of it was like deep psychological group work mixed in with a lot of adventure.
Right on.
Because I do believe like talk therapy can bring up a lot of that, or like help the issue in the tissues start bubbling.
Yeah.
And then you got to work it out somehow.
Sure.
But I remember this guy, we were talking about dreams, and he had this dream, and it was like really scary for him to share it. It was like a repeating dream, but where he kept trying to go up a mountain, but he couldn't with his backpack. So he had to let the backpack go.
Easy.
And I, have you ever been to Highlight outside of Bozeman, Highlight Canyon and the mountain up there? No. It's a decent hike. It was like, I think 15 miles round trip.
Right. And
there was a point where I was with my friend that helped me with the book. We were hiking up in silence, and there's 7 waterfalls 7 miles along the way, so we did the whole thing in silence. But at the last mile it started looking sketchy, and we were real tired, and it was a little thundery, and I was like, I know what I'm gonna do. I just dropped I had all this stuff. I'm like, I'm just gonna drop this and run up there real quick. I want to get up there. And there's something about when you're talking about the back, like letting go of that backpack.
Well, it's real. I think a lot of people hold on, whether it's a physical backpack or a metaphorical one. Yeah. People load it up with stuff. Sometimes you just got to pull those straps and let it go. And it's like, well, have I dealt with this? Or who cares? Just go forward.
You're literally navigating. Like, this seems to be part of your passion. Like literally navigating life without the backpack. Exactly. I mean, and I think within that kind of navigation sort of spectrum, if you think about it, like for me, and even for my boys and my significant other, like curiosity is the thing that should guide you in life. Not necessarily like you just spoke of, like we were hiking on a trail and we saw these 7 waterfalls. And it sounds absolutely amazing. For me, it's like I do not like to stay on that trail because I want to hear something over here and I want to see what it is. I want to smell something. I want to taste something in the air, and I want to go see what those things are. I want to be curiosity led. And I think when we break the trail,
We break the norms of what we're supposed to be doing out in the bush, and you're led by curiosity. You discover something that somebody might have seen 10, 20, 30 times, but for you, it's brand new. And that's where that discovery comes in, that ground truth comes in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I talk about that as well. Like if curiosity kills the cat,
perfect.
It's like the opposite for humans.
Yeah.
It's like it opens up our spirit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow. Okay. I am curious about your very first time. So, like, turning because I think that's a big theme in the Breaking Normal podcast is, like, supporting people and turning this dream, even if it means letting go of the backpack, into their lifestyle.
Yeah.
What was your first sale? Or how did you first be like, oh, my gosh, might work?
Yeah, I think really my first sale, or kind of how it might, hey, this could play out in the future, was sitting at those trailheads. And literally, you're sitting there, you got some animal skins on, you got a big bison hideout, and you're hoping that people are curious enough about what it is that you're doing. And then with your pitch, they're willing to take your card, send you an email, be like, yeah, let's let this strange guy sitting on a bison hide bring us into the bush for the next 5 days and show us how to live. And once I saw success, a handful of times, it kind of appeared in something that I could scale, if you know what I mean. So I could have a 3-day, a 5-day, and then something up to a 20-day. And as I was making those sales, I kind of realized that there's different facets of people. Not everybody likes to go extreme, and some people have a certain comfort with a little backpack. Maybe it's a father of 3 daughters, and all he wants to do is bring his daughters out camping successfully. They want to have a good time. So maybe he needs some of that kind of that coaching and that mentoring. And then maybe there's a 25-year-old kid that's like totally wants to go wild and just eat squirrels and drink from streams. And so there's these different kind of levels of people. And once I understood the dynamics of who these people are, I could target those people. And I use that term very, very lightly, but I could approach them just on how they were dressed, kind of relying on my old counter intel skills, looking at someone, formulating an assessment and being like, all right, based off their complete REI swag and this, this might be their best approach. And then after conversations, you're either right or you're wrong. But those initial days on that bison hide were really kind of proof of concept. But I wanted to tie in my stone. I wanted to tie in because there's a lot of different, ethnicities and groups and whatnot. But I group everybody into this human culture, especially around stone. We've been using it for 3.3 million years, different, hominid species, if you will. But something as simple as a rock has really connected all of us by sharing different kind of designs of stone points and understanding why certain stone is valuable in one place and why a certain stone is valuable in another place. And all these little things that are just naturally found on this earth really defined us. So I wanted to give people the opportunity to reach back to that starting point and say, well, let's take a rock, let's break off one flake, let's go live with just this for the next 3 days. And some people are like, man, I don't think I can do it. I'm like, you can do it because we've already done it. The proof is in our history. We're just going to experience it now. So people are curious. And I think in the time from 2010, 2009, that sort of timeline, people were wanting to rewild. They were wanting to kind of reconnect. As the iPhone was taking kind of shape and social media was coming into play, some people saw it as, okay, well, I can adjust to these modern times and kind of get well versed in technology, but I should also know how to hunt my own food, how to stay safe when I'm out in the bush with my loved ones, or how I can preserve meats. I should be able to identify clean drinking water, find a place to sleep for 2 or 3 nights, or what happens if I snap my leg and I am out on a hike or backcountry skiing.
Wow. Man, I have like 1,000 questions.
Fire away.
Oh yeah, the midwife. You used the word midwife.
Midwife?
You recently, like a few minutes ago, you said the word midwife, and it also reminded me of the few experiences that I've had hunting.
Right on.
But basically, I think I told you in the voice note, when my daughter was old enough where she started wanting to eat meat, I had a friend that I knew that was like an expert hunter, or a friend of a friend, and I was right away I was like, can I go hunting with them? How do I make this happen? And we took a I took a pig that night.
Nice.
And it was Brownsville, Texas.
Okay, yeah.
And
I'm going hog hunting actually Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Where at?
Down in Stanford, Texas.
Okay.
Me and my fiance Missy, we're gonna go down with some atlatls and bows and just get a bunch of meat.
Wow. Okay. All right. And then the next day I did a deer.
Right
But what those two experiences, the closest thing I could relate on my nervous system was seeing my daughter born.
Yeah.
And there is like a portal there. Like,
sure.
Is it almost like when you were describing your business, it almost sounds like you're like a midwife almost.
I see.
But for the other, like for taking the portal for life leaving to give life to us.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I find that very fascinating.
That's a fair way of looking at it.
Did you see your children born?
I did, yeah. I delivered my youngest son, like straight out. No issues there. My oldest one, I was, in the hospital room. But for my youngest one, it was like, look, I want to be the first hands that are holding him, that sort of thing, and brought him all the way out and waited a little bit before we clipped the cord to make sure he got all those final nutrients, and then away we went.
Do you feel a connection between the two?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I have a deep connection with my boys, but they know I'm not their friend. I'm their father, and like that's a very important thing for me because I'm like, friends will come and go. Your father will be around, and I'm like, I'm just speaking for me to you. But with that understanding of who I am in their relationship, they're the most open young men to me. There isn't anything they won't share. There isn't anything that they keep, secret, so to speak. And it might be a little bit of my old background, but they can't get away with things. Yeah. But I also extend them trust. I also extend them a level of maturity based on who they ultimately are. And I've given them things that they can be proud about, be successful for. And it's never been one where it's like, all right, I'm going to go outside and chop firewood or do this. Like, we're going to do this together because this is what we need to do as a family. So I gave them kind of a stock in how it is, one, to be a man, and two, to kind of approach life and providing for others and making sure that, they have a clear direction really on where they go. Like my oldest boy, he just got back from Europe. He's like, I don't want to go to college right out of high school. I'm like, cool. This will not be a dad-funded trip. Spent 3 years scrubbing pots in the back of a brewery, saved up a buttload of cash, and he went all through Europe and Japan and Australia, and I'm like, go do it.
How old is he?
He turns 19.
He just did that right now?
Yeah, he did it. He graduated high school last year and spent.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm like, go for it, man. Life's full.
What's his name?
William.
June what?
June 18th.
Okay. My birthday's June 1st.
Oh, right on.
But specifically about the birthing and the killing, is there a connection of a feeling?
I can't say no. Two different dynamics.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, like hunting it's about food. It's about the resource, and I go like a step above just the meat or the heart, the liver, lungs, whatever it is that you're going to consume. It's about the hide. It's about the sinew, the intestines, the brains, the skull, the resources that come from an antler. I use those to make stone tools. So I think for me, it's very much there's a food drive behind it where this is what my family eats. I need to be able to produce. But there is something I always call like I honor the hunt. There's always a give back right up front, whether it's an offering to the land in the form of what that animal eats, or seeing something and not actually taking that first one that you see. That's my give back to that population. Hunting in the lowest means possible. Like, I don't like using guns. I own guns, firearms, but I don't like to use them. I like to level the playing field as much as possible. It builds a bigger challenge for you, whether it's using a bow that you've made with stone tools or saying, all right, for the next 10 days, you're bringing no food while you go out for a hunt. You will hunt while you hunt. You will catch fish. You will forage. You will do these things in the very most traditional way to take a piece of meat. And then lastly, it is all about resources. I don't do happy snaps. I don't do a lot of grip and grins. Like me, the hunting is a very intimate thing. And I've only hunted with a handful of people. Like I've hunted with Missy, my significant other. We took an elk. We'll do some hog hunting, but like I don't go to elk camp. We don't crack Budweisers. I'm not bringing steaks and all these things. I'm going out there to get the food and the resources that my family needs. And when I do that, it's way different than birth, a life coming into it. Yes, you are taking one, And you can also produce by giving some, but two different worlds for me.
So what about what are your services that you're offering? So I heard in an earlier podcast that you do marmot hunting.
Yeah,
and that's fascinating to
delicious.
me. And you call them whistle pigs?
Whistle pigs, yeah.
Because that's how I don't. Is that because of the noise they make?
Yeah, they go. Shh, they make that big whistle when they alarm. So you have one colony here, one colony here. This colony sees a threat. It might not whistle until they move past, and then they'll alarm the other one to kind of let them know. But yeah, whistle pigs, man. August.
Yeah, I always because we lived up in the top of a Blue Mountain for a little bit during the COVID thing.
Yeah,
it was like a community. We had a great setup there. But I always remember like a smoke alarm sound almost.
Those are pika.
That's a different animal.
Different animal. They're like this big. Well, like that big.
Do they hang around the same
They
areas
live
as
in
marmots?
the same area, and pikas usually give the first alarm, and then a whistle pig or a marmot go make this big whistle, and it kind of lets everyone know that there's a threat there. So pika and marmot are very, very in that same. They live in the scree fields. You know what I mean?
Well, the marmot look pretty meaty.
Yeah, they're delicious. They're really
delicious.
They're absolutely. It's my favorite thing to hunt. It's the first thing.
Your favorite thing to hunt?
Yeah, well, it requires high elevation with a bow. It's usually August 9th or 10th is when the season opens up, and nobody else is out hunting them. But it gets you dialed in for elk and mule deer because they are the perfect kind of thoracic cavity size of something bigger. So you get dialed in on those. You're working around scree, which is very dangerous. So you kind of have to know the terrain, know where you're working. And it's not like you can go out there with a 22 and shoot one, but there's no fun in that. So for me, I like to go out with a bow, camp out in high elevation, 11, 12, 13,000 feet and find those whistle pigs. They're clean. They're eating moss and lichens and flowers and grasses. They're not big, burrowers in the sense where they're eating like worms and things to that extent because a lot of it's scree rocky terrain. So it's clean meat, delicious. I mean, hide tans out.
What's it like?
God, I always struggle with this because I would taste like marmot, but it's a nice pinky sort of meat, and then when you cook it, kind of turns into a brown. And if you do like their quarters, kind of comes off like big wings. I would say it's like a cross between like a rabbit and possibly like a fox or like a pine squirrel.
Well, I've never eaten a squirrel or fox.
Like a fox squirrel, not a fox.
Okay, I've eaten plenty of rabbit.
Kind of like a rabbit, but with a little bit more like richer, kind of nuttier flavor. I think they're delicious. They really are.
So if someone's listening, or if like I'm interested, because I'm like, man, going marmot hunting with you.
Yeah.
But when you say you don't go hunting with other people outside, you mean like
I'll bring people out. I'll show them
to hunt.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
help them with the whole thing.
Absolutely. I don't typically, when it is hunting season for elk or mule deer or whatever, I don't like to go out in like a large group. It takes away from my experience.
So what if me and him want to go marmot hunting?
Yeah, I'll bring you guys.
What do we need to do?
Well, you could so everything that I run is custom nowadays. So here's it's kind of like this. I used to offer a lot of calendar courses from this date to this date, 3 days in this, and people would sign up and we would go about it. But I've reduced that down now where I teach just small groups or one-on-ones.
Okay.
That is where I can really ensure that person is getting dialed in on everything that I'm trying to teach them. I like to do, college roommates or a husband and wife or something to that extent where that group dynamic is motivating. There's reassurance. You're all out there for that common goal. And when I bring people out, they have a way more enjoyable time because they've kind of got maybe their buddy there that's, busting their chops, or there's significant other kind of reassuring them. When I used to do large classes, 10 people, there's always somebody that's very successful and someone that's always struggling, and all my attention would wind up going to that person or a person struggling. And I feel like people were missing out. They weren't getting the full me. So when people want to sign up for a class, they go to donnydust.com, they send me an email, and I start building a custom course based off kind of their pattern of life and what they're looking to achieve. Maybe, flint knapping isn't their thing and making stone tools, but they want to, focus on marmot hunting or how to hand fish trout out of a river with no lines or hooks. Then we focus on that.
That's funny because I swim at Ebengee Fine Park probably 300 plus days a year.
Right on.
And when I'm with my daughter, sometimes, especially if she has her goggles, I'll go. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I just go into the water and I try to catch the trout.
Yeah.
What do you mean? How do people hand fish trout?
You just, so, I mean.
I've never caught one.
Oh, man.
It was underwater. I feel like there's probably a better way.
Yeah.
How do you do this?
So a lot of trout, when there's a small stream, they'll shoot to the sides, and underneath those little banks, there's little holes and little pockets. So you see where it goes in, and it's always going to be facing upstream swimming.
Okay.
So you come behind it and you just work your hands underneath, and you'll start to feel it. You'll feel that sliminess. And you put your hand in the front, and you just kind of roll this hand right up to its gills, and then bring this hand down, and you just pull it out.
Wow.
And then bite the gills out and eat it.
Because I at one point, my brothers and I had a YouTube channel where we were experimenting with different diets, and we experimented with a raw vegan diet.
Yeah.
And I always remember like the vegans being like, yeah, let's see you get that animal. Once we stopped eating a vegan diet, like, why don't you get that animal without a weapon?
Yeah, well, you can.
And I've
Sure.
seen these videos of people hand fishing before.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow.
I do it like, St. Mary's Glacier. There's a couple other lakes.
That's like some of the coldest water I've ever swam.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you do there?
So, I just, how there's that little stream to walk over that bridge?
Yeah.
It's loaded full of trout. You just see them shooting there and just grab them right out.
Wow.
Whether there's, you got a waterfall or a small little kind of waterfall, and you get that white water, they'll swim right in there like this, and you can just, two hands, boom, just grab them. I mean, I've got tons of videos online of hand fishing.
Okay.
You don't even bring hooks or line or anything.
Well, all right. Well, here's a question for
Yeah.
you. The other day I was in the sauna next to the creek, and I was having a conversation that was pretty surreal to me because I was hanging out with people that eat meat.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how why would anyone hunt and how unnecessary it is. And it's like, I thought they were joking at first,
Really?
but I think they were serious.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, why would you do that? And I'm thinking like, wait, do you understand like how you're hiring a hitman in the supply chain of that, like whatever type of meat is that's what you think is the best way to eat meat?
That's the worst.
What is your argument for why someone might want to, if they're eating meat especially, why would they experiment with hunting? Why would they go on a journey with you or themselves and get their own food?
Right off the bat, I mean, it's the most logical and impactful way to manage wildlife in an area. I mean, that's why we don't get cars up and down South Boulder or Arapahoe slamming in a deer all the time, because there's people out there managing those populations, and those populations are hunters. Whether you're in the back country or even on the front range, like wildlife management is huge, especially with the amount of people that live in an area. That's how we mitigate a lot of those risks, as well as keeping farms and local people that have their chickens and this sort of thing. That's how we keep those populations at a manageable rate. And there's a lot of science that goes into it. But when it comes from the simple food aspect, you earn it. Like, you genuinely earn your food, because it's so easy to go to the store and buy a steak.
But I think that's what they were saying. They were saying that why would they want to do that? They have money.
I mean, they're weak. I mean, that's really what it is. It's weak-minded people, weak body, weak-spirited. They don't appreciate what the land provides. So for them, they're like, I'd rather just go to the store and buy it. That's just a weak mindset. Those people will never find a point in their life where they can actually say, I'm doing something better. So between the wildlife management and then earning it, like, you enjoy it. I know when I cut up a piece of elk and I serve it to my significant other or my boys, there's a story to it. There's meaning behind that meal. There's meaning behind, if my oldest is like, well, let me cook it, or Missy's like, well, let me, take care of it because it's backstrap. She knows that for the 105 pounds that she took that elk and then carried it 4 or 5 miles out of the bush in snow. There's a story to it. There's more of everyone loves a good meal and likes to sit around a table and talk about this. But imagine talking about the food that you actually went out and earned. For me, that's kind of more impactful. And then, I mean, factory farming is it's just gross. I mean, I'm all for people, having their raw milk and having their hobby farms or other farms. Like, that's important. That's their business. It's healthy. It gives back to their communities. But like, they have a different mindset. Like, they're like, I'm willing to put forth the effort to earn this because it impacts the community, it impacts the environment, it impacts the livelihood of those animals. And we've all driven past a factory farm and just like, oh my God, like, is this real? Is something like out of a movie? So, I mean, for people that choose not to hunt, that's their choice. I will never say they should, but you might actually appreciate your food a little bit more. And more importantly, you understand that will be the healthiest form of food that you could ever come across, is taking, a nice mule deer and within regulation, within the law, and then turning around and serving that to your family, like you can't beat that. I mean, it tastes so much better. Like people are like, "Wow, what does it taste like?" I mean, people are accustomed to eating beef. You know what I mean? But venison, elk, bison, marmot, squirrel, rabbit, turkey, rattlesnake, Himalayan possum. You ever had a Himalayan possum?
No.
Himalayan on the side of the road, so you pick them up and eat them. All
Actually, I heard. Yeah, it's a roadkill. You eat roadkill.
Absolutely.
I've done that once with a rabbit with my dad. But tell me about how often? How many roadkills have you?
Oh God, countless. I mean, we live in Colorado. It's great when wintertime comes, something gets hit, and it's frozen on the side of the road. You just go to the Parks and Wildlife, the office, you get a roadkill permit, which allows you to bring it to a game processor out of season. That's your legal.
So do you have one of those with you already, or do you have to go there first?
Typically, you have about 3 days. If it's something like a large, like bull or something to that, like a large elk, they're going to cut the antlers off. You just got to maintain the sex on there, and then they will quickly inspect it, make sure you didn't shoot it, and then you can take it back to your house. I butcher it out myself, or you can get your roadkill permit and bring it to the game processor and then process it out. It's frozen.
So what if like the stomach erupts or something in there? And
sniff through it. Does it smell bad? You can still get something out of it. I mean, like the whole idea with stomachs and ruptured. Yeah. I mean, it's all kind of. It's all, I always say shoot a preference, but like I know if I'm targeting pigs, I go for the guts.
The guy told me I went in the head. Yeah, why do you go for the guts?
Because when I stick a 6-foot dart through
you're going through the arrow. You're the arrow.
Yeah, so then
I had a rifle.
It hits a tree and then it rips its guts out and it takes 15, 20 steps and just dies. It's quick. There's no such thing as ethical killing. It's just the quickest means possible. So, but if I was to use a rifle, I'd put it in the ear, put it behind the shoulder. It's all case by case on what you're actually using. But food's food. It comes in a lot of different forms.
I did go pig hunting with dogs in Hawaii.
Cool. Yeah, man. They pin them down, get them with a knife.
The way this guy, I've heard about that way. Mm-hmm. So correct me if I'm wrong. There was like 2 different ways to do it. There was a couple guys that would just walk the farm roads with a pit bull.
Right on.
And I think that's what they were doing. They would charge the farmer, like, how much are you paying per pig?
Yeah.
I think the pit bull latches onto the dog, and then they stab it.
Yeah.
The way we did it was in the woods, and he had like 3 or 4 of these expert sniffing out dogs. I forget what the exact breed, maybe like a whipper or something, or these Texas dogs. And they basically find the pig.
Gotcha.
Corner it and just start yelping like crazy, and then he comes and shoots it.
Gets it.
But we didn't kill any pigs that time. It was first a mother, and he didn't want to do it, and then the other 2 he thought were too small.
Gotcha.
But then he gave us half the pig. He killed it earlier from the jungle, and he says the jungle pigs are much tastier because they're eating fruit all day.
Yeah. Makes sense. It's just like bears.
But that was an adventure. My argument for hunting is it's been the 3 or 4 or 5 times I've done it, sincerely, it's been the most, arguably 5 of the most spiritually impactful experiences I've ever had.
For sure. With everything that you hunt, people have different kind of practices. I know for anything that I take, I always do a last food rites. Whatever it eats, I put that in its mouth as I start to process it, because it eats what it eats. Now I'm about to eat it. It's just kind of that ceremony. It's giving back. If I catch a fish, whether it's on a line or with hand, and that's my give back. I catch one, I give it right back, because things will come in different words. And that's only based on an experience where I was out elk hunting, and I was out for a couple of days sleeping in a big pile of leaves, and just that's where I was living. And as time kind of progressed, it was getting a little bit antsy. Like you need to get an elk, and I had a cow tag, so antlerless. And as I was starting to kind of go to that first day, I heard some noise. I kind of sensed that there was some elk around, and I kind of got behind this rock, and then next thing you know, this nice cow elk walks in front of me. I draw back on my bow, and as I'm looking, I see 2 little legs right to the side of it. And I was like, oh my gosh. So she had a yearling, a young one, and I'm like, it's not right. It's going to be late. This thing will probably die on its own. It could be bad, So I'm like, you know what? This is my give back. And I just said it at that point, gave that animal back. And then within probably 4 hours, I had the pick of any animal that I wanted in a cow, of a cow elk, took it and had plenty of food. But I felt like that give back, just kind of providing back to the landscape, it yields back to you kind of tenfold. And I've always stuck by that, maintained that, and it's worked out. whether I've been in the Amazon looking for, something to eat. I see something I can't eat, draw. I'm like, that's my give back. And then, 6 hours later, there's a nice big electric eel and you shoot it with a bow and eat it. Everything's an option.
I got to hear a little bit of that story. You were doing some sort of adventure race show thing for Amazon, and you ended up hunting electric eels.
Yeah.
And was that the only time you've ever done that?
That was the first time I shot an electric eel, and it's
when people have eel sushi, is that what they're eating, or is this different?
I think that's like a kind of a freshwater eel. There might be some saltwater eel. This is like a 5-foot long eel that's that big around and will shock the hell right out of you.
Yeah. What's the protocol for that? Like, say if one of these people that are listening tomorrow, they get caught in the Amazon River, and they're hungry and they want to eat an electric eel. What's the protocol on that?
Just don't touch the water. I mean, as soon as, because I was on like a wooden kind of like stump, like this big buttress of a tree kind of went into the water, and I stood on the buttress and then shot it. And as it stopped moving, and this is with like a palm frond arrow, so there's no metal, there was no fletchings on it, and I just put it right in the back of its head. And once it stopped moving, I kind of pulled it out and then clubbed it in the head and then just cut it up and ate it. I mean,
what would happen if you like fallen in the water?
I mean, it would give you a pretty serious shock,
like
without a doubt.
Potentially deadly?
Deadly, yes, especially for somebody with with a heart. But like, I mean, they're so powerful. They'll swim to the bases of trees, hit a tree to drop fruit into the water and eat it. So yeah, they have quite a charge. Like Missy and I were just down in Guyana, South America, and I was living in the bush for a couple of days. Built a shelter, had a bow, and ate some heart of palm. And then like right around like the second day, there's a nice big freshwater stingray, and I shot that with the bow and consumed it, and just right over a fire.
Wow.
It's food.
How was that actually, now that I think about it, I was in Costa Rica once, really chilling. It'd be hard chilling. We were kind of bored, and I made a little spear.
There you go.
And I wasn't even really hunting. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just playing around with my brothers. I'm like, let's go see if we can get a fish.
Yeah.
And I saw all of a sudden, like something moves, and I throw the freaking thing, and I hit the stingray right in the. It was a stingray, and then all of a sudden, I have a stingray at the end of my thing. And I go run back and show the locals, and they're like, "Oh, it's just too small, too small." But what is stingray like?
It's a weird meat. I've never had it, but it's like these kind of like fibrous, string cheesy looking things, like all lined up. But once you cook it and you cook it well, it tastes just like any sort of like, I don't know, like river fish.
Okay,
a little brown, a little dirty, but when you're hungry, it's.
Well, what about the people out there that think that eating meat is bad for your heart? What do you think about this? Do you think anything about that?
No, I really don't think they have any merit to really stand on. I mean, I think we've just been told that for years. I mean, I'm kind of one of these guys where I don't subscribe to a lot of like inputs from people these days, just because, I mean, everybody has the means of providing information. And for me, it always goes back to like, what is vetted and validated? What is circular information? It kind of my counter intel background. So I rely on the information that really comes from my ground truths. And like for somebody who's had a heart attack and has lived as a vegan, who's lived as, the whole carnivore thing, like my blood pressure was fine with both. I did the vegan thing on a dare, which was great because I took off a whole food palette, completely removed from my lifestyle and forced myself to learn wild edible plants and tubers and, the whole 9 yards. And then after my, heart attack, I think it was probably 3 months, I was like, I'm going to see what it's like just to eat meats, and totally, kept everything chronicled, and like probably 80% of it was wild meats. And then like there was that like chicken in there because I don't own chickens, and then a little bit of fish here and there, but like I never had any issues, so I can speak from. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
I argue. I think I agree with you. Yeah. By the way, so much so that I was my second book. It looks like you have another one coming, by the way.
Yeah, I'm working on. I have like 3 or 4. I'm always working on some when winter time hits.
My second one might be called "Your Projection Is Not My Placebo."
There you go. I like that.
And I understand. Yeah, first, like I'm a little bit into bee. Do you ever do any beekeeping?
No, I mean I've tracked down like wild honey and stuff. I mean
wild,
like Africa,
wild honey.
Yeah, and like Africa and whatnot. But like,
is that anything to do with that mad honey?
No, this we were tracking a bee. We were tracking a bird that looks for a stingless bee and a stingless bee that has this honey. So you're like multiple tracking. in like the Masai Mara to find some honey. But like, I don't know, my whole thing with like beekeeping is like the term organic honey.
Yeah.
I always kind of chuckle at it because I'm like, how do you know where your bees are getting their stuff from?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's just my personal assessment.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be a guy who's just littering his yard full of like toxic stuff, and that bee's going to go sit there and, get that pollen. But
here's another school of thought that I like to ascribe to. It's like the homeopathic, maybe Chinese medicine that like heals like. I mean, do you like that projection at all? That like if you want a healthier heart, you eat more heart.
No.
You don't like that one either.
No, it's not that I don't like it. I mean, if you want healthier eyes, do you eat eyes?
That's some people believe that. Yeah.
And I would probably say they're wrong. I mean, it's just my personal input. I think the wilder you eat, the healthier it is. You know what I mean? Like if you're eating a lot of wild meats, like I mean, when's the last?
What about testicles? You don't think eating testicles would potentially increase your testosterone or your testicle
I think
health?
it's a really fun gimmick. If you want testosterone, I would say you strip down into like the bare minimum and then go live in the bush. Like where things will hunt you, whether you go to Alaska or you go to Africa, you go to a place where something's hunting you back, you build up your testosterone. That's there. It's very easy to sell products.
But what if, I think testicles have testosterone in them.
Not after you cook them.
Yeah, exactly. We sell ours raw.
I like testicles, but I don't think it's gonna raise my.
I think it does.
I mean,
it might be because I'm placeboing myself.
Well, I don't
It
think
might
that it could be. I'm like I said, I don't know the science of it, but like for me first, like I would eat a testicle because it tastes good. A cow testicle.
But what about the
or
indigenous people? A lot of them, like, don't they savor the testicles? Like even the guy I was interviewing last time, they cook the yak testicles.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah, but why do you cook meats? Tastes better.
Why do I sometimes cook meats? Yeah, I do think certain meats taste better cooked.
Absolutely.
Yeah, something like heart might be better raw.
Yeah. I mean, when we do any bison butchering, like we pull out the liver, we eat it.
That's the best liver I've ever eaten was fresh from the bison kill, and it had a whole different, like a nutty.
Yeah, it's meat.
Taste.
I mean, it's a liver, but I mean, it tastes how it's supposed to taste in the rawest form. You know, I mean, when I was in Africa and I was living with the Maasai, they drink milk, they eat meat, and they drink blood. That's the essentially what their diet. They're pastoralists. So for me, I got to experience after a month of being there, living with them and guarding their livestock and doing all these different things. We did a meat camp where we took 2 goats, and for those goats, they don't cut the neck and let the blood drain out. You strangle the goat. You essentially suffocate it, so they can actually eat everything inside that animal without losing that blood. And some things are consumed raw, some things are cooked, but it's just a cultural practice. So whether you're eating testicles or liver or heart, I mean, when you eat a heart, do you like to unwrap it, or do you like to keep it and cut it? Because like a heart will unwrap itself in like a 3-foot section, well, not 3 feet, but like 2-foot section. So. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to consume foods. Some people like to eat them raw. Some people like to eat them cooked. I say shooter preference. I mean, if I'm out in the bush and I shoot a rabbit, I'm going to cook it.
The Maasai, do they puncture the cows to drink the blood without killing them?
Yeah. So that's what they'll do if they're out in the bush for an extended period of time. They're looking for nutrients. It's kind of like having a Red Bull, so to speak. Between the irons and the minerals and the liquid within itself, it holds a lot. So it's a pretty common practice.
And that's what I mean. I do think certain parts of the animal are most nutritious, are more deeply nutritious, like the liver, heart, blood, spleen, testicles, brains.
Organ meats.
Yeah. And that's my understanding in the wild that happens quite a bit too. Like a predator, if they're going to take a prey, like even with, I've heard killer whales will kill great white sharks and just literally remove their liver and sometimes heart and testicles and leave the rest. Yeah,
well, I mean, I think you can look at it from a nutritional standpoint, or you can look at it from the natural standpoint. Why would you eat something that can give you like the quickest access to it? So imagine you're a coyote, you kill 2 or 3 coyotes kill a deer. Mm-hmm. With that blood in the air, that kill that's going around, there's other larger predators that are going to quickly come and take it. So they target those things they can get quickly and with the least amount of effort through the guts. And then once they've consumed it, they move to the rest. Or if they're driven off by a bear, least they've had something.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot to it.
It is.
I mean,
I think it's both. I think it's
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying, out of ease.
Yeah, sure.
And I think a lot of organ meats, when off a fresh kill, are much more edible than like muscle meats.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think they're the most nutritious. But anyways,
Yeah, they definitely have nutrition with it. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, however you choose to eat it, I mean, it's
What do you
definitely
think about slicing some of this heart up? What time
Yeah.
is it? What is it? How we doing? Oh, yeah, we got a good time.
Yeah.
Good time. Plenty of time.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you want to?
do you like frozen meats?
Yeah, I do. You want to try it like that or no?
Pick your poison, man.
Yeah, I can start chopping it up a little bit. I'll start chopping it up. You mean you try to use this knife for it? Let's see if it's even thawed out enough. Because I usually use this with like a really sharp knife. That's why I almost want to see how you would do this.
Yeah.
You think it'll still work frozen?
It depends.
Because that's why I usually like use like almost like a real sharp blade. Oh, that part's probably a little better. What's your favorite way to eat heart?
I don't know. Probably with sweet potatoes.
Okay, cooked.
Yeah, I like to do it on.
I'll try it without salt, and then I'll try some next.
I like to do it for Valentine's Day. It's my sweetheart meal. Sweet potatoes and heart.
Yeah, heart has like the most like a steak taste to me out of all the organ meats. Let me see how what I think about this one.
I mean, I don't know. I think it just kind of tastes like heart.
I'm just trying to make you think that's good for your heart.
Well, it definitely. I mean,
try a little salt this time.
yeah.
Hey, Belle, would you like to try some? I bet your dog wants to try some.
I think heart is it's something that a lot of people just overlook. I'll get underneath there. Thank you.
Been to Iceland before?
I have
Did you hunt in Iceland?
puffin.
You did.
Yeah.
I ate puffin. I would like tell me about that story.
Yeah. So I was living off the northern fjords in like this turf house, and I caught some codfish and get a little mix of other foods. So I made this huge driftwood like lacrosse stick, and then stood on the edge of a cliff. And as the puffins would fly by, flip it up in the air, catch a puffin in the actual netting of that like giant lacrosse stick, and break its neck, and then went back and cooked it. But you can't eat puffin skin. You can only eat the meat. The skin is toxic. I guess it has something to do with the toxic in the sense that it's not poisonous, but it will impact the rest of your day. I guess it has to do with a large amount of fish oils in it.
Okay.
Like that. And this is just from locals. But
how'd you get set up with this trip? Like, where
it was for a TV show.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, so then I just smoked them, and then I ate a couple as they were, and then smoked them, and
Would you say as they were, like cooked them or ate them?
cook them up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, cook them just like a little.
Because I had them smoked too. It seems like that's the traditional way to do it there or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had like 7 or 8.
Okay.
So you eat 1 or 2 of them, and then you smoke the rest just to preserve them, and then you get another meal out of boiling out the bones and the remnants of it. And so so imagine if you shoot a rabbit, take a rabbit, you eat all the meat off of it, throw all the bones and carcass stuff, heart, liver, lungs, anything else that you can quickly boil, and you get a second meal out of it, which is the broth and then some more of the meats. But it's all, and meals are meals, whether it's fish heads or.
I actually, fish heads is one of my favorite.
Do you enjoy it?
Especially when my girlfriend's in town. What we'll do is we'll simply go to Whole Foods sometimes and just get their heads, and they're much cheaper. And then she I think she kind of cleanses it with like water and apple cider vinegar.
Right.
And then there's like a bake with her little
that's
like
smart.
teriyaki blend, and then we eat the eyes to make her eyes better. And then,
But are the fish eyes already gray?
Yeah.
They would be.
But
You gotta eat it.
the ball's interesting. That little, I guess, is
Little
that
white ball.
what is that? The pupil, the hard part of it.
I'm not really sure what it would be specifically, but a fish eye is good for you when it's still clear. Once it goes cloudy, it's just starting to spoil. The liquids are starting to like change on the
Okay,
inside.
interesting. All right. But yeah, that's one of our favorite dishes. The cheek and the neck.
Yeah,
that's
halibut
like the most
cheeks.
tender.
Yeah, those cheeks
taste.
are always good. Can't go wrong with any cheek on an animal. It's good, especially on some fish.
Yeah. All right. But you mentioned the antlers, and here's some weird foods. Do you ever eat elk antler and like the velvet state? Have you ever had that?
Reindeer, caribou.
Did you eat it fresh from? Like, how'd y'all do that? Because I sell that as a supplement, and they freeze dry it. But how did you?
Yeah, when you find a rub and they're starting to scratch and they get all that velvet off of it, that's a real easy meal because you can find it on the ground, you can find it stuck on a tree, and you just kind of like drag it across the back of your teeth and get all the minerals and a little. It's mostly has like a blood taste to it, but
apparently there's growth factor in there.
Growth factor?
Yeah, like IGF-1 in that.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, it's like a hormone. It's like what people inject. Like they make a pharmaceutical version.
Oh, really?
To inject it to get huge.
Well, that's
like the Liver King. If you ever saw that guy, he was using a lot of
growth
factor.
He sent me some of his supplements years and years ago. It was like ancestral something. Yeah. And they're like, we'd love to know how what you think about them. And I was like, all right, well, it's like heart, liver, and lungs. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well. Like I eat heart, liver, lungs. I eat all that stuff.
You eat lungs? You eat lungs?
Yeah.
I haven't eaten lungs.
You can eat them. The best thing to do is fry them up in any of the fats. Same thing with the intestines. Like as long as you milk out the intestines, scrape out that inner line, and cut them up in like little pieces, like a little calamari. You can throw that in some fat mixed with any sort of seasonings, and I mean it's a little chewy, but it's good. Same thing with certain aspects of the lungs. All the bronchi, I think those were.
Okay, yeah.
I mean the trachea component that connects to it, usually you can dry that out, let a dog chew on it. But, I mean, everything's edible. When you really think about it.
Yeah.
Like one of the favorite things to do in these bison butchering classes is take out all the long bones, smash them and eat that marrow.
The marrow is also, I also think that's a superfood. I think that's super healthy.
That was like, when you think of ancient hunter-gatherers, that would probably be one of the first things that they would consume. Because
makes perfect sense.
It's not covered in anything except a little bit of hide. You can smash it with a big rock and pull out this stick fat, this huge thing on a bison, it looks like a banana. I mean, that's how thick it is, and you can just eat it as it is. So after we butcher out a bison, we smash long bones and we go through it and everyone eats it. And so we were like, oh my God, I usually get this cut at a, bistro somewhere and then it's grilled. I'm like, it's just way better raw, and just get a stick and just eat it. But.
Well, I do have another bison harvest to help make happen.
Oh.
And so I would love to do that with you.
Yeah, man. We're going to be doing it at the end of, I guess it's May. You chewing on that deer leg?
Oh, yeah, this dog. We brought the worst kind of things for.
My dogs chew on everything, but yeah, it will be at the end of May. Thanks, man. And we'll go up to EWR, Eagle Wings Ranch, with Jim and Julie. And most people come up on a Friday, stay Friday night, get a little acclimated, kind of get things set up. And then we dispatch the bison early in the morning, bring it on over. And then we take stone flakes, a bunch of knives and things that I've prepared. And we go through the full butchering. And this sort of butchering is way different than like, even if you owned a farm, like this is on the ground. It's the heat of the day, whether it rains. And I do some preventative measures. If it does start to sprinkle, put a little canopy over it. But, and then as we go through, we kind of go over some of the primal cuts. We go over, what's inside loin, back straps, top round, bottom round. Let's definitely, we pull out the tongue, we go over the tongue, and then we always, whether there's rib, meat, anything like that, we'll separate the ribs out, grill some of those up over some hot coals, just mow on ribs that are, 3.5 foot. And then everyone that comes, I tell them, this is your bison. I'm going to help facilitate you taking it apart, but you will be bringing home a lot of meat. We go over kind of how to preserve your foods, and then a lot of the hide, a lot of the sinew, intestines, heart, liver, lungs. I always tell people, if you don't want to eat it, I will. Or bring a piece home, experiment with it. If it's not for you, dry it out, give it to your dog. This is also great for animals as well. And then one person gets to bring the skull home. We kind of like flip a stone flake, heads or tails, paper, rock, scissors, and then whoever wins gets to bring the skull home and go over how to like boil it out and how to prepare it, and whether you want to crack it, eat the brains, or you just want it as a memory.
How'd you say y'all take the bison down?
Jim puts it down with a rifle.
Okay, so not in the head then, or?
Yeah, in the head.
So how do y'all eat the brains after the? Is that an issue or?
No, I mean most people that typically take the skull, they're not going to wind up eating the brains. Brains are kind of a finicky thing, in my personal opinion. Being that it's fat, like when you tan a hide, you're using the fats, typically the brains, or using bark, things like that. So some of those fats that could be exposed, they have a tendency to kind of spoil a little bit quicker, if you will.
Okay.
But we focus on the rear, the insides, pull out all those sort of things first, heart, liver, and then we process those down, then we put those into coolers. And then we move to the one side of the animal, moving all the way up to the head. Because the neck, if anyone's ever pulled a hide off a bison, I mean, it's like pounds and pounds. Like you got two people holding up a leg to get at the insides to pull out this cavity that's absolutely massive. And then removing the hide off a skull it takes some time. But there's still brain salvageable in there. Especially if you're going to work it into a hide or something.
Well, yeah, I have probably a group of at least 10 people that are like kind of standing by for the next one. So maybe we'll get to. Yeah. And I guess for other people too, if they have an experience they're wanting to co-facilitate with you, they could reach out at DonnyDust.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've been doing 2 a year. One that we did, I think last October, was 2,400 pounds. It was probably the largest bison butchered in North America in the past 1,000 years. Wow. I mean, with stone tools. I mean, even if you go back to Native Americans colonization, they were using steel and horses and a whole bunch of stuff. So you're going back in time. I mean, and it is not easy, but no experience is needed. You're coming there to learn, and you get to walk away. I mean, if you look at bison meat in the store, $16 a pound, something like that, you're getting a deal.
Yeah.
Get a deal.
And, I mean, that's our bison liver, our main product. I really do think it especially helps people that are low in iron. Women that are low in iron, like really kind of crazy, miraculous things I've heard. And I've heard that liver can cure anemia.
Yeah.
I'm not making that claim that it can, but if I look at everyone's blood work, it seems like that's true.
I mean, the one reason I stopped doing the whole vegan thing on this experimentation was my youngest son was becoming iron deficient, because as I was eating, various things, like his meat intake was greatly reduced. And then I was like, oh, done. Let's get him back to where he needs to be, healthy and growing. But yeah, I like these sort of things. These are good. I like to just pop them and hit them with a thing of water. They're pretty solid.
And I wanted to give the rest of that to you, whatever we don't eat here. So I'm sure you'll make use of that.
Yeah, we'll eat it tonight. We eat it routinely, man.
Does your boys are 19 and 16 now?
19 and 16. Well, turning 19 and 16.
Yeah, your older son's adventure intrigues me. It kind of like reminds me of my brothers and I.
Yeah.
How long was he in Europe for?
He was there from pretty much, it was like August of last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you think? Did he have a favorite spot, or
he likes Spain because he speaks Spanish, and he went into France and he speaks some French, but he definitely liked Japan. He got to visit. I mean, he loved it all, to be honest with you. I think Japan is always kind of one of those places for him because I was stationed in Japan. He lived in Japan, and my youngest was born in Japan.
Oh wow!
So they kind of always have this kind of draw there, but I think it's the food. Like he loves, I saw like probably 7 or 8 photos of him, and everything else is like food and like cool buildings, and he saw a lot of art and kind of architecture, but he just loves food. So I got a lot of noodles and this and sushis and all these various things that he was kind of going down and exploring eating.
Okay. I have your dog. This is your dog in the cover.
That's Finn.
Where'd this dog come from?
I think he was a res dog down on one of the reservations, was probably brought up here, but he was found eating roadkill on the side.
You found him, or just someone else found him?
Like Animal Rescue found him, and then I took him right off their hands. And
wow.
He's a good bush dog. I mean, he's chased down moose. He's got between me and moose. He'll come back with rabbits every once in a while.
What's the deal? Because we especially up in Ned, I've come on a couple moose before, and I've heard that someone once told me, and I have 2 dogs, that moose, like having one dog can be dangerous with a moose, and having 2 dogs is better because they're like the pack scares them away. Whereas they see one, they might be more aggressive towards it.
It really comes down to like a female and her calf.
Okay.
I mean, that's when they're going to be most aggressive. A big bull, as long as you know the seasons, like if it's the rut and they're trying to breed and all this sort of stuff.
When is that in Colorado to watch out for male moose specifically?
It's going to be kind of like in the mid portion of like summer.
Okay.
Like, I mean, they'll calve in the spring, and then probably like 2 or 3 months are going to be back in that period where they can start breeding again. But anything with cubs or calves or anything like that. That's the biggest threat. But most of those big bulls are way up in the mountains, eating alder and willow and just hanging out in these upper elevations because it gets hot. It gets hot in the lower stuff, so they kind of head up top. And that's where I've seen the most. But, I mean, I think it was probably 2 days after having him. I was like, I'm going to bring him out in the bush. We're going to go get some marmot, hunt some ptarmigan. And we went up in the mountains a couple days, and I quickly learned that while I'm sleeping at night, he's up all night. And while, he's sleeping during, the day, I'm kind of up and doing things. But as we were walking out of the mountains, this big moose just jumped right in front of us. And I don't know, we're only at him for a couple of days. He got between me and the moose and started growling and kind of giving like real signs of aggression. And I said, gave him a call back. He came back, moose took off, and it's like, we're best buds, just like that.
Well, moose seem like, of all the animal interactions I've had, they seem like, I don't know, they're the scariest. Or they seem the most intimidating to me, like the most unpredictable or something. I don't know what it is.
I mean,
I have a reverence for moose.
Yeah, moose, I mean, I wouldn't mess with a moose. Moose is more likely to charge than a bear. I mean, a lot of the bears that you find up in the mountains or in the lower elevations, they're looking for food. But if it is a mom and she's got cubs and you scare them, you're likely to get a bluff charge where it's going to run at you and kind of turn away at the last minute. But moose will come right at you. They'll run right through you.
Well, it's good. Let's make sure that doesn't happen. I'm like excited to let this to be continued. I'm
cool.
Happy people know where to find you, DonnyDust.com.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything you want to make sure that we talk about that we may have not?
No, I mean we hit it all. I mean this is cool. Like I was telling Missy, it's nice to know like Jim and Julie. There's other people that are resourcing a lot of their stuff. The heart, liver, lungs from their bison and the bison butcherings that I do. It's kind of like a cool full circle.
It really is
for them because I think like their biggest stress is they have the cleanest form of meats and supplements that you can really come across. It's local. Their animals are well loved. I mean, it's just a really nice thing, especially for us to connect in that kind of capacity. So, no, I appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I wanted to make sure I had one more thing I was going to ask you.
Yeah, no worries.
What was it? Oh, I know what it was. I was thinking about all the moms and dads, and I do international co-parenting.
Oh, cool.
You said you have a fiance?
Yeah.
He's not the children of your mom?
No, so I was married once before so my ex, she lives in Boulder. Okay, and then Missy is, we're going to wind up getting married, I think, at the end of this year, the beginning of next year. But I mean, I have what I call a creation contract with my ex, which is we created 2 kids. Therefore, we will have certain facets of our lives and, as far as going to games and how we do things, but keep it simple.
How long have y'all been doing that for, the co-parenting?
Really since like 2019. Okay. And then...
The same for me.
Yeah. Amazing. I mean...
That was a big 2019.
Yeah, because it rolled right into like COVID and all that. But that's, shortly after is when I met, Marissa or Missy. And she loves the bush. She's great with medicinal plants. I mean, I've come back with parasites and everything else, and she mixes teas up.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
She's pretty solid.
How'd y'all meet?
She actually signed up for like a winter course that I was doing, and like it was already full, so I kind of put her on a hold. And then she has the same dog that I do, same breed and whatnot.
Which is what breed?
He's a pit bull husky. A Pitsky is what they call him. So we met at a trailhead. We went out in the bush and kind of hung out, and we kind of hit it off, and then we did some kind of remote backcountry, like dragging a sled full of animal hides. And she's a little warrior. She's good. She's definitely an awesome gal, and she likes hunting. She loves, between our freeze drying and hunting and medicinal plants and making soaps, she's just very much, and we're going to, once we get married, we're going to do some kids. I had a vasectomy, just got it reconnected. So
wow.
Yeah, man.
Wow. How many stories do you have? What in the world? Wait, so all right, real quick. So you had a vasectomy.
I did.
And then reversed.
Yep, just got reversed.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are really scared of a vasectomy because...
Oh, vasectomies. I did my first one with no anesthesia. Like, it was quick and easy, just put into like a meditative state. Quick hole punches, pull them out, wrap them, cut them, solder them, slide them back in.
Whoa.
And then within probably 12 hours, big Pabst Blue Ribbon between the legs just to ice them down. The reconnection, though, that was a lot of pain. But it was pain just because, they're your your nugs, they're just sore.
Did you have anesthesia at that time?
That time I did. Yeah, you fully go under because they're like reconnecting like human hairs. But I was like, I think like the mindset of, being in your 40s and being like, no more kids. I'm like, fuck, no way, man. Like, I love kids. I love my 2 sons. I'm like, I want to have kids with her because they'd be absolutely amazing. And
yes,
it would why not?
Let's go.
I mean, that's what we're supposed to do.
I agree. I'm on that team.
So it'd be good.
So is that very successful for people that have had that procedure before?
I think so.
How do you know if it's successful? Do you just get a little test afterwards?
Yeah, you do a sample.
Okay.
And the longer you've had a vasectomy, like, you're going to lose potency. But like, some people, they'll take different supplements. They'll do different things to kind of raise that production of testosterone.
Bison testicles.
Ashwagandha is like
Elk velvet. Oh, ashwagandha. Yeah. I've heard that as well.
It's pretty solid. And like just going out and like living as primarily as possible, I feel like that raises your testosterone to like fucking just.
I like that you brought that up because I had a friend today who's, I think he's on the U.S. ski team, and he was asking me hacks about raising testosterone. Yeah. And I like your formula.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I like the idea of it. I'm not sure if I like it as much. It sounds tough.
Nah, you'd be all right. It's really like a week of like soreness, and then like, everything swells up, and you're like, oh, this is impressive, and then it kind of goes back to normal. Like, there it is, But it's.
And what was that formula one more time? What was Donny Dust's formula for boosting testosterone? Can you tell us that one more time?
I say you do a little ashwagandha, but then you head out in the bush in the worst environment, in like extremes possible, and then you hunt, you live, you try to like just kind of push the limits. That requires you to say like, all right, I can't die. I need to continue to breed and go forth.
And hunting specifically where other animals potentially could be hunting you.
Yeah, I mean, that adds to the flavor and the adventure. Or if you go out hunting, don't bring any food with you. Don't bring anything that's going to take away your hunt drive, because hunt drive is very important. You see a lot of like professional hunters that come out with these huge backpacks full of stuff. And I'm like, no bueno. Like go out with just like your quiver and like your moccasins or your normal clothes, and then go out and hunt. Your hunt drive, like we as humans, we need that hunt drive. Some people find their new hunt drive to be going to the store and getting this, or pursuing something in gaming, or getting a new job or whatever. But that drive still exists in us, and I always call it that's your hunt drive. And if you can actually hunt within that hunt drive, going out for game to eat, you're going to feel a whole lot different. You're going to be like, you come home with a giant animal like I provided, and it's good. It's what you need.
Oh, man.
Keeps you going.
I'm inspired. Do you have any questions for me before?
No, man. I'm pumped to read your book, though.
Yeah.
So when we do this
on Audible as well. What were you gonna say?
No, I'd be success. So if we do this again, now it's like I get a little bit more of you, because I listen to some of your episodes. They're good. I enjoy them.
Yeah, I think you might like this book. I mean, and rewild your inner child.
That's it, man.
Free, man.
That's it.
I think this episode might have to be called like letting go of the backpack.
Yeah.
Let go of your backpack.
Yeah, dropping your pack.
Drop your pack.
Yeah, because
they're Donny Dust.
Yeah, that's it. We used to have a saying in the Marine Corps. It was like, when you're getting ready to leave the Corps, it's like, dude, are you getting out? Yeah, man, I'm ready to drop my pack.
Oh, perfect. So drop your pack with Donny Dust. I mean, I definitely am inspired. I was very excited to meet you.
Cool, man. No, I appreciate it.
And still am very excited to meet you more.
Right on. Yeah, this is just the beginning.
Yes, sir.
Rock and roll.
What's our timing, Yvel? How long?
20 for the podcast.
Oh, we broke normal by 9 minutes. I usually aim to put them between an hour and 11 and 44. Thank you for breaking normal with me. And if you want to break normal and you have your own podcast, or someone wants to start one, this Yvel here, the producer, is doing a good job. He even can have a mascot. Momo. Momo? We gave her a hard time today. We had bison heart. You had like bloodied stone trolls everywhere.
I know.
She did good though.
Great job, though.
Oh, yeah. All right. She tastes that bison heart. She smells it. All right. Thank y'all. Keep breaking normal. Let's go.